Naomi Carter, a 41-year-old business administration lecturer in Denver, had always believed her marriage to Darius Carter was solid. After 17 years together, she assumed stability equaled love. Their suburban home looked peaceful from the outside, neatly trimmed hedges, warm lights in the evening, and two careers that paid the bills. But inside Naomi's heart, cracks she ignored were deepening. One evening, while Darius showered, she heard a message ping on his phone. She never checked his phone before, but something in her spirit pushed her forward. She walked toward the nightstand, saw the screen light up, and froze. Table for two confirmed at Lumiere. Friday, 7:30 p.m. window seat. She'll love it. Naomi felt her breath catch, her fingers trembling as the world she trusted shifted. Lumiere was the restaurant Naomi and Darius once dreamed of visiting for their 10th anniversary. Instead, he had claimed a business trip that year. Now, seeing him plan a romantic evening for another woman felt like a knife twisting slowly. Before she could stop herself, she typed in his passcode, their wedding date. As the phone unlocked, her stomach tightened. Messages. Photos. Voice notes. A year-long thread with Jade Thompson, a young communications officer at Darius's law firm. In one photo, Jade leaned into Darius's chest, smiling at him like she owned his heart. Naomi blinked hard, feeling betrayal crash over her. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She stood motionless, fingers gripping the phone until her knuckles went white, her chest heavy with disbelief. Just then, Darius called from the bathroom, completely unaware. "Babe, have you seen my blue tie?" he asked casually. His voice floated through the steam, sounding relaxed, harmless. Naomi swallowed the burn rising in her throat. She placed the phone back exactly as she found it. "Second drawer," she answered, her voice steady but cold. Later that night, she lay beside him with her back turned, listening to his calm breathing while her own heart beat like a war drum. She remembered all the excuses he made, late nights, mysterious meetings, clothes smelling of unfamiliar perfume. Every suspicion she ever had now stood before her fully formed. She kept silent, but inside her, something sharp began awakening. This time she refused to ignore the truth. The next morning, Naomi kissed Darius goodbye as if nothing had changed. "Good luck with your presentation today," she said softly. He smiled, unaware that she knew everything. When he finally left, Naomi stood still in the quiet house. Then she reached for her phone and called the university's HR department. "I need a 3-day personal leave," she said. But she wasn't asking for time to cry. She needed time to think, plan, and breathe again. She brewed coffee but couldn't drink it. The cup sat untouched as she stared into nothing. 17 years of marriage now felt like a book she didn't recognize. Instead of drowning in sadness, Naomi felt a strange clarity rising. She wasn't going to yell or beg. She would expose truth calmly. Naomi opened Darius's email and saw his perfectly organized calendar. Friday at 7:30 p.m., the reservation for Lumiere, with notes about lighting, wine, and the romantic setting. The sight made her stomach twist, but she kept reading, absorbing everything. Then she searched for Jade Thompson on the firm's employee directory. It took minutes to find her profile. Polished photo, bright smile, perfect hair. From there, Naomi found Jade's social media, which led her to Marcus Thompson, Jade's husband, an architect with an impressive portfolio. Naomi studied his photos. Marcus looked kind, steady, and genuine. "He deserves to know," Naomi whispered to herself. But she couldn't simply call him. Instead, she crafted a professional-sounding email inviting him to discuss speaking at a seminar, at Lumiere, at the exact same time. 2 hours later, Naomi received Marcus's reply. "Thank you, Ms. Carter. I'm honored. Friday at 7:30 works well." Reading it made her heart beat faster, not from fear, but purpose. After that, Naomi called the restaurant. "I need a table for two near the window," she said. Then added, if possible, near the reservation under Carter. The hostess happily confirmed. Naomi smiled faintly. Everything was almost in place. On Friday, the truth wouldn't come crashing down through screams or accusations. It would unfold quietly, like a curtain pulled back on a stage. Darius had mistaken her softness for weakness. But Naomi had been quiet too long. Friday night would not be a confrontation. It would be clarity, a truth delivered without a single raised voice. Friday evening arrived with cool Denver air brushing against Naomi's skin as she stepped out of her car. She wore a deep teal silk dress, one Darius always said was too bold. Tonight, she wore it proudly. Her hair was swept into a neat bun, makeup simple but elegant. She entered Lumiere, the warm glow of chandeliers casting golden light across the room. When the waiter led her to her table, she saw the empty window seat reserved for Darius and Jade. Her pulse quickened. She ordered a martini and kept her breathing steady. Moments later, a voice spoke behind her. "Ms. Carter." She turned to see Marcus, dressed sharply but looking tired. "Thank you for meeting with me," he said. Naomi smiled gently. "Please, have a seat." Their conversation began lightly: urban architecture, teaching strategies, Denver's changing skyline. Naomi nodded and engaged, but her eyes often drifted toward the entrance. Then she saw them. Darius entered first, wearing the gray blazer Naomi bought him last year. Jade followed, wearing a red dress meant to attract attention. They laughed as they walked, unaware of Naomi's presence. Darius pulled out her chair, smiling warmly, the same smile he once reserved for Naomi alone. Naomi inhaled deeply and kept talking to Marcus. "Your work on sustainable framework design is impressive," she said. Marcus grinned modestly. "Thank you. My wife always said." His words stopped when he noticed Naomi's eyes shift. He turned and saw Darius and Jade sitting together. Marcus frowned slightly but said nothing yet. When Naomi stood to use the restroom, she moved with calm purpose. But just outside the corridor, she nearly collided with Jade. The young woman froze, eyes widening in horror. "Miss Carter," she whispered, voice trembling. Naomi tilted her head. "And you must be Jade." "The woman holding hands with my husband under the table." Jade's lips parted, panic flooding her face. "Please, not here," she begged. Naomi's voice stayed soft. "Why not? The setting seems perfect." Jade shook her head. "Marcus doesn't know," Naomi replied sharply. "He will." Just then, Darius appeared behind Jade, color draining from his face. "Naomi, what are you doing here?" She looked at him steadily, then called out, "Marcus? Could you join us a moment?" Her voice echoed through the restaurant. Marcus approached, confusion written across his forehead. "Is everything okay?" Naomi met his gaze. "Marcus, this is my husband, Darius Carter. And you already know Jade, your wife." Silence fell over the restaurant. Jade gasped, covering her mouth as tears formed. Darius stepped back, stunned. Marcus slowly turned toward Jade, pain settling in his eyes like a storm cloud. Naomi didn't wait for their excuses. She walked back to her table and signaled the waiter. "Please arrange a private room for 4, she said calmly. "We have serious matters to discuss." Minutes later, they were all seated around a silent table in a softly lit private room, the weight of exposed betrayal hanging thick in the air. And for the first time, Naomi felt truly steady. In the private room, none of them spoke at first. The soft lighting made their faces appear even more strained. Naomi sat with her hands folded neatly, her expression unreadable. Darius finally tried to break the silence. "Naomi, I don't even know how this happened." She raised a hand sharply. "Start with the reservation you made 3 days ago. Lumiere. Window seat. Romantic lighting." Darius's mouth opened, then closed again. Jade lowered her eyes, wiping a tear. Naomi continued, voice steady. "I read every message, every photo, every plan you made in secret." Marcus stared at his wife. "Is that true, Jade?" His voice cracked with disbelief. She whispered, barely audible, "Yes." Naomi leaned back. "The least we deserve tonight is honesty. No lies. No excuses." Marcus looked directly at Jade, pain clouding his expression. "Why, Jade? Just tell me why." Jade sobbed softly. "I felt invisible. You were always working. Darius listened to me. It wasn't supposed to become this." Marcus shook his head. "I listened, Jade. I remodeled your office. I stayed up nights helping you plan your projects. I thought we were building a life. Jade reached for him, but he pulled away. Darius then looked at Naomi desperately. Naomi, please. I know I messed up. I never wanted to hurt you. Naomi stared at him, her voice icy. You didn't just hurt me, Darius. You erased us. Piece by piece. Choice by choice. He swallowed hard, searching for words that didn't exist. Jade wept openly now. Naomi slowly reached into her purse and placed a hotel keycard on the table. Everyone stared at it. I already booked a room across the street, she said calmly. I won't be going home tonight. And, Darius, it would be best if you weren't there Monday morning. Darius's face twisted in panic. Naomi, please. Don't say that. I can fix this. We can work through it. Counseling, anything you want. Just don't walk away. Naomi shook her head gently. You can't fix what you deliberately broke. You had a year to choose me, Darius. You didn't. Marcus exhaled shakily, leaning back in his chair. I can't believe this, he muttered. I married someone who couldn't even tell me when she was unhappy. Jade cried harder, collapsing inward. Naomi stood, smoothing the front of her dress. I'm leaving now. She looked at Marcus. I'm sorry you learned this tonight, but at least you know the truth. Marcus nodded painfully. Thank you, Naomi. I needed to see it. Jade whispered. Please, please don't ruin my marriage. Marcus looked at her, his voice trembling. You already did that yourself. Darius reached for Naomi's arm, but she stepped away quickly. Don't touch me, Darius, she said firmly. Her voice wasn't angry, just final. I gave 17 years to someone who stopped choosing me long before he met Jade. I won't give another minute. With that, she walked out of the room, heels clicking sharply against the polished floor, the sound echoing like a declaration of freedom. Naomi reached the hotel room later that night. As she locked the door behind her, the silence collapsed over her like a blanket. She dropped her purse on a chair and kicked off her heels. When she reached the window overlooking downtown Denver, the city lights shimmered faintly through her tears. For the first time in years, she felt the weight of loneliness she had ignored. She sat on the bed, hugging a pillow. Then the tears came, raw, uncontrollable, painful. She cried for the woman she used to be, for the years spent waiting, hoping, pretending. She cried because she finally understood that the love she gave was never returned equally. She wasn't crying for Darius. She was crying for herself, for the part of her heart she abandoned. A sudden knock startled her. She wiped her eyes and moved toward the door. When she checked the peephole, she saw Marcus standing in the hallway, shoulders slumped, eyes swollen. Naomi opened the door slightly. Marcus. He exhaled shakily. I'm sorry to bother you. I didn't know where else to go. She opened the door wider. Come in. They sat in 2 armchairs near the window. Marcus's voice broke as he asked, How did you sit there tonight so calmly? How did you hold everything together? Naomi gave a tired smile. I wasn't calm. I was holding myself still because if I didn't, I would have shattered in front of everyone. Marcus nodded slowly. Thank you for not letting me keep living in a lie, he whispered. They talked quietly, 2 strangers connected by the same wound. Marcus told Naomi how Jade once encouraged every design he created, and how he believed their marriage was secure. I thought she believed in us, he murmured. Naomi stared at the carpet. I thought Darius believed in us too. But people change quietly, and sometimes you don't notice until it's too late. She sighed deeply. I'm going to file for divorce. Marcus wasn't surprised. I don't think I can stay with Jade either. Not after tonight. Naomi looked at him gently. I'm not angry anymore, Marcus. Not the way I was yesterday. Now I just feel done. He nodded. Me too. When Marcus stood to leave, he paused at the door. If you ever need support, I'm here. Over the next weeks, Naomi didn't respond to Darius's desperate calls, messages, or flowers left at her office. She didn't want apologies. She wanted peace. She met with a lawyer and filed for divorce. Darius showed up outside the university one afternoon. "Naomi, please talk to me," he pleaded. She looked at him with tired eyes. "Darius, what more is there to say?" He stepped closer. "I lost everything, Naomi. My reputation, my position at the firm." She cut him off immediately. "You lost your marriage first. The rest came after." Darius swallowed hard, tears forming. "I love you." Naomi shook her head. "Love doesn't survive in the dark. You didn't just make a mistake. You lived a double life." Darius broke down, but Naomi didn't waver. A friend later told Naomi that Jade had quit her job and moved back to California. The affair had become public in the firm. Whispers and judgment followed both of them. Darius sent Naomi one final message weeks later. "I tried to make it work with Jade, but there's nothing left. She doesn't even look at me the same. I don't see you in her eyes anymore." Naomi read the message once and deleted it. She felt nothing. Not victory, not revenge, just closure. She was rebuilding her life piece by piece. She moved into a new apartment filled with sunlight, plants, and quiet. On a Saturday morning, as she brewed coffee, her phone buzzed. It was Marcus. "Coffee at Tanner's?" Naomi smiled softly. "Give me 15 minutes." At Tanner's Cafe, Marcus waited with 2 lattes already on the table. "I remembered what you like," he said shyly. Naomi laughed lightly. "Funny. Darius never got my coffee order right, not once in 17 years. They talked for hours, sharing small updates about life, work, healing. Marcus revealed that his divorce had finalized quietly. "She left a note," he said. "I'm sorry I made you lose faith in love." Naomi stirred her drink. "Did you?" Marcus met her eyes. "No. I'm learning to believe again. Not in promises, in consistency." Naomi fell silent, absorbing his words. For the first time since her world shattered, she felt something settling inside her, something calm, steady, almost hopeful. Marcus smiled softly. "We're both starting over. No rush. Just honesty." The months that followed brought a quiet steadiness into Naomi's life. She returned to teaching, finding comfort in the rhythm of lectures, assignments, and curious students. On weekends, she enrolled in a photography class, learning to see beauty through a lens rather than through someone else's approval. Marcus continued running his architectural firm and often volunteered as a guest speaker for Naomi's students. After each session, they would talk, sometimes over coffee, sometimes during short walks across campus. One evening, after a seminar, Naomi invited him to her new apartment. It was small but filled with warm lights and plants. They shared pizza on her balcony overlooking the city skyline. Marcus looked around softly. "This place feels like peace," he said. Naomi smiled. "That's exactly what I wanted." One cool summer evening, Naomi and Marcus walked along the river after attending an outdoor jazz concert. The music still floated faintly through the air as they strolled side by side. Marcus slowed his steps and glanced at her. "Naomi," he said gently, "I don't want to rush anything. I know we both came from pain. But if one day you want to try something real, something honest, I'm here." Naomi stopped walking. His expression was calm, not pressuring, just patient. "I'm not ready for the old kind of love," she admitted. "The one that demands everything and gives back little." Marcus nodded. "I don't want that either." She smiled softly. "But if love means friendship, truth, no secrets, maybe I've already started without noticing." Marcus didn't say anything more. Instead, he reached for Naomi's hand with slow, gentle intention. His hand didn't promise forever, didn't demand anything. It simply offered presence, honesty, and patience. Naomi looked at their intertwined fingers, feeling something quiet grow inside her, something she hadn't felt in years. They stood by the water as the last traces of sunset painted the sky in orange and gold. The river carried the soft reflections of passing lights. "I like this," Naomi whispered. Marcus smiled. "Me too." They continued walking, hands still joined, not needing to define anything that night. For the first time in a long time, Naomi felt like she was stepping into a new chapter, one that wasn't built from pain but from healing. A year after the unforgettable night at Lumiere, Naomi received an invitation to Professor Henrietta Benson's retirement celebration. Professor Benson had mentored her through graduate school and encouraged her during her toughest moments. Naomi chose a simple navy dress and her mother's pearl earrings. When she entered the hotel ballroom, her eyes immediately noticed a familiar figure, Darius. He stood near the wine table, thinner, older, and devoid of the confident swagger he once carried. His eyes met Naomi's, and for a moment they simply stared. Darius approached slowly. "Naomi," he said, voice rough. "I didn't think you'd be here." She nodded politely. "Professor Benson means a lot to me." Darius swallowed. "She's the last person still willing to speak to me, after everything." Darius stood before her with a hesitant expression. "I owe you a real apology," he said quietly. "Not the kind I gave before. A real one." Naomi waited silently, giving him space. He continued, "When everything happened, I thought I lost only my reputation or friends. But what I truly lost was myself. I tried to rebuild something with Jade, but it fell apart faster than anything I destroyed with you." Naomi looked at him, not with anger but with a distant acceptance. "I hope you find peace, Darius," she said softly. He nodded slowly. "And you? Are you happy?" Naomi smiled faintly. "Yes. I'm building my life again, on my own terms." Darius exhaled shakily, as if he'd been holding that question inside for months. At that moment, Marcus entered the ballroom. He wore a charcoal-gray shirt and a modest blazer, his presence gentle but confident. When he saw Naomi, he smiled, the smile that had slowly steadied her heart over the past year. Naomi's eyes softened. Marcus walked toward her, placing a hand lightly on her back. Darius followed her gaze and understood instantly. He nodded. "He's a good man," Darius said quietly. "You deserve something new. Something better." Naomi placed her hand over her heart, grateful for the closure. "Thank you," she replied. "And so do you, Darius. But only when you're ready not to hurt someone else." Darius nodded respectfully before stepping away, giving her the space he had never given her in their marriage. The evening flowed gently. Naomi and Marcus sat together at a round table, laughing with colleagues, sharing small stories, and taking photos to remember the night. When the music shifted into a slow, warm melody, Marcus stood and extended his hand. "Dance with me." Naomi hesitated for a moment, then smiled and placed her hand in his. On the dance floor, they moved slowly, comfortably. Naomi rested her head lightly against his shoulder. "I never thought I'd be here again," she murmured. "Not like this." Marcus held her gently. "Life breaks us, but it also rebuilds us, if we let it." Naomi closed her eyes, letting the moment wash over her. For the first time, she felt whole, not because someone loved her, but because she loved herself again. When the celebration ended, Naomi and Marcus walked out into the cool night air. The hotel lights cast a soft glow around them. As they strolled toward the parking lot, Naomi glanced up at the sky. The stars looked brighter somehow. "You know," she said quietly, "there was a time I thought betrayal was the end of everything." Marcus took her hand. "Maybe betrayal wasn't the ending," he said. "Maybe it was just a pause. A forced pause. So you could find a better path." Naomi laughed softly. "Well, the path feels clearer now." Marcus smiled. "Good. Because wherever your path leads, I'm honored to walk beside you. At your pace." Naomi squeezed his hand gently. "Then let's keep walking." They reached her car, neither wanting the night to end. Naomi leaned against the door, facing Marcus. "Thank you," she said. Marcus tilted his head. "For what?" She smiled thoughtfully. "For being patient. For seeing me. For not rushing anything." Marcus stepped closer, but not too close. "Naomi, healing isn't a race. And you're worth the wait." She felt warmth spread through her chest, something tender and steady. "I think," she said softly, "I'm finally ready to open a new chapter." Marcus nodded. "Then we'll write it together. Slowly. Honestly." Naomi smiled, feeling hope, a pure, quiet hope, rise inside her. "Good night, Marcus." "Good night, Naomi," he replied, brushing her hand gently before stepping back. Driving home that night, Naomi replayed the events of the past year. The betrayal, the heartbreak, the confrontation at Lumiere, the loneliness in the hotel room. But instead of pain, she felt an unexpected gratitude. Those moments had forced her to confront truths she long ignored. They had pushed her into rebuilding herself, not for anyone else, but for her own dignity. She pulled into her apartment complex, turned off the engine, and sat in silence. She whispered to herself, "I survived." And more importantly, she whispered, "I grew." When she walked inside her apartment, plants glowing softly under warm lights, she felt a sense of belonging. Not because someone waited inside, but because she had crafted a life rooted in strength, clarity, and self-worth. As summer gave way to autumn, Naomi embraced a new rhythm. Her photography class evolved from a hobby into a passion, and she often spent weekends capturing Denver's skyline, street markets, and hidden alley murals. Marcus occasionally joined her, carrying an extra lens or offering quiet suggestions. Their connection grew naturally, without pressure. One afternoon, while reviewing her photos at a local cafe, Marcus leaned over and said, "You have an eye for finding beauty in places people overlook." Naomi smiled. "Maybe because I used to overlook myself." He nodded thoughtfully. "Not anymore." She met his gaze, sensing sincerity. Their bond wasn't built on fireworks but on consistency, patience, and mutual respect. Naomi realized she finally understood the difference between being loved and being valued. Naomi's divorce finalized quietly on a crisp November morning. She walked out of the courthouse feeling lighter than she had in years. Marcus waited outside on a bench, sipping coffee. When he saw her, he stood. "How do you feel?" he asked softly. Naomi exhaled a long breath. "Free," she answered. "Truly free." Marcus handed her a cup. "Then let's celebrate freedom with something warm." They sat together, listening to the wind rustling dry leaves across the pavement. Naomi rested her head on his shoulder. "I'm not sad," she murmured. "I thought I would be." Marcus pressed her hand gently. "You mourned the marriage long before the paperwork ended." Naomi nodded. "You're right. The ending happened the night I saw the truth." And she felt no regrets. Winter brought cold mornings and snow-dusted streets. Naomi and Marcus spent many evenings cooking simple meals together: pasta, soups, roasted vegetables, laughing at burnt edges or over-seasoned dishes. Their conversations deepened. They talked about dreams, fears, childhood memories, future plans. One night, as snow fell softly outside, Marcus looked at Naomi thoughtfully. "Do you ever think about marriage again?" he asked gently. Naomi smiled, shaking her head lightly. "Not yet. Maybe not for a long time. But a partnership built on honesty? I can imagine that." Marcus nodded. "That's enough for me." Naomi appreciated that he never pushed, never demanded more than she could give. Their relationship grew stronger because it flowed naturally, free from the desperation or blind trust that once kept her chained to heartbreak. Meanwhile, Darius tried rebuilding his own life. He reached out once more, not to win Naomi back but to apologize. Naomi agreed to meet him for a brief coffee, not out of longing but closure. Darius looked worn, humbled. "I destroyed everything," he confessed quietly. "And I paid for it." Naomi nodded. "We all pay for our choices eventually." Darius swallowed hard. "You seem happier now. Different." Naomi offered a calm smile. "I chose myself this time." Darius rubbed his hands together. "I hope, one day, someone gives me another chance." Naomi looked at him gently. "First, give yourself one." As she walked away, she felt no anger, no sadness, only a sense that the chapter had finally closed, the ink dry and permanent. Naomi's photography soon earned attention. Her professor encouraged her to submit pieces to a local art exhibit. She hesitated at first, doubting her talent, but Marcus pushed her gently. "You have a voice through your lens," he said. "Let people hear it." She submitted 3 photographs, one of the Denver skyline at dusk, one of a quiet street corner bathed in sunrise, and one of a woman's silhouette reflecting against a window. The gallery accepted all 3. On the night of the exhibit, Naomi stood proudly beside her work. Strangers admired her photos, discussing angles, lighting, and emotion. Marcus approached, eyes warm. "Look at you," he said softly. "You found yourself." Naomi smiled, feeling her heart lift. For once, she believed him completely. As the evening continued, an older woman admired Naomi's silhouette photograph. "This one feels strong," she said. "Like someone breaking free." Naomi replied softly, "That's exactly what it represents." Marcus listened with quiet pride. After the event, they walked out into the cool night air. "You should keep going," Marcus encouraged. "Your art tells stories people need to hear." Naomi glanced at him. "Maybe I'm finally telling my own story." He chuckled. "Then it's a bestseller already." Naomi laughed, the sound light and genuine. She felt grounded, fully present in her new life. She wasn't defined by betrayal, nor was she scared of the future. She had carved a new identity, piece by piece, built on resilience and truth. That spring, Naomi decided to host workshops for young women navigating confidence, relationships, and career choices. She used her story, not the painful details, but the lessons, to empower them. During a session, one student asked, "How did you know when it was time to leave someone you loved?" Naomi paused thoughtfully. "When loving them meant betraying yourself," she answered. The room grew quiet. Her words resonated deeply. After the workshop, Marcus helped her pack materials. "You're changing lives," he said proudly. Naomi shrugged modestly. "I just hope they learn faster than I did." Marcus placed a hand on hers. "What matters is that you learned." Naomi squeezed his fingers gently. "And I didn't learn alone," she replied. Their eyes met with shared understanding. One sunny afternoon, Naomi and Marcus picnicked at City Park. Children played in the distance, birds fluttered near their blanket, and soft laughter drifted through the breeze. Naomi leaned back on her hands. "It feels strange," she said. "This peace. I didn't know life could be this quiet." Marcus stretched his legs and nodded. "Sometimes chaos teaches us to appreciate calm." Naomi smiled. "I'm glad chaos didn't break me." Marcus looked at her warmly. "You rebuilt yourself. That's even harder." She glanced upward, watching the clouds shift slowly. "I used to think my story ended the night my marriage did," she murmured. Marcus shook his head gently. "No. That was just the plot twist. The real story began after." As they packed up the picnic basket, Marcus hesitated. "Naomi," he said quietly, "I want you to know something." She turned to him. "What is it?" His voice was steady. "I don't need marriage, labels, or timelines. I just want to keep earning your trust. Day by day." Naomi's heart softened. She touched his cheek lightly. "And I want to keep choosing the truth. Choosing peace. Choosing this. Whatever this becomes." Marcus exhaled slowly, moved by her words. They leaned toward each other, sharing their first gentle, unhurried kiss. It wasn't dramatic or fiery, it was steady, deep, and honest. Naomi felt no fear. Only clarity. Only warmth. Only the certainty that she was finally loving again without losing herself. 1 year after stepping out of a broken life, Naomi Carter stood fully in her new beginning. She lived in a home she loved, pursued art she was proud of, and shared her days with someone who valued honesty as much as she did. When she looked in the mirror now, she no longer saw a woman betrayed. She saw a woman reborn. She had learned that betrayal was not her ending, it was her awakening. Choosing herself had been the bravest act of her life. And walking forward, slowly, truthfully, with Marcus by her side was simply the reward life gave her for surviving. Naomi smiled at her reflection. "I didn't just survive," she whispered. "I became." And her story continued, on her terms, with no regrets. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel.